I am a feminist. A feminist is defined as a person who believes in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes. And the reason of how I became a feminist started with a Beyonce song. It's kind of embarrassing, but then I used to have this mentality of girls being better than boys in absolutely everything. These thoughts have lasted from kindergarten to middle school. When Beyonce's self-titled album came out in 2013, in her song Flawless, you can hear Chimamanda Adichie saying, feminist, a person who believes in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes. And in that moment, I was completely on board with the feminism that I have seen on my TV, in social media, and in magazines without doing any further research at all. I began to publicly label myself as a feminist to my parents, to my friends, to my neighbors, to all my teachers, and to that one guy I had a crush on. Literally everyone that I know. You can guess the ending to that middle school romance of mine. It didn't end well. But you get the point from the anecdote. Being a feminist in public is like the equivalent of being called a misandrist, the more academic synonym of a man-hater. And so, instead of focusing on my image as a whiny social justice warrior, I place all my energy into the trending feminism that I've learned from the media, in making it my topic for every possible school paper or project in the following few years. I did write about the mainstream topic of the wage gap between men and women. I wrote about how feminism first emerged with the women's suffrage movement. Hell, I even made sure I was that kid who had her version of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech to be related to women's rights. Back in middle school, I recall seeing several posters being taped into my school walls about gender inequality and its stats. Posters that said things such as, a woman earns 79 cents compared to her male counterpart. Or gender-based violence that estimates more than 1 out of 4 women in Washington, D.C. have experienced sexual harassment on public transportation. Or just saying that we have to do better for women in general. I thought that I was a good feminist, advocating for the media's version of feminism, and it felt that way. I thought my work was good enough. I felt like I was the right feminist. The right feminist. Yet, there is a problem with my activism and the activism that we see everywhere. It's not for women like me. Women who are part of minorities, Asian women, queer women, transgender women, impoverished women, working women, African American women, the list of minorities goes on. All of the facts I've just listed are only focused on white women. And there's a word for that feminism that the media shoves onto our faces. It's simply white feminism. And no, it's not feminists who just happens to be white. In his article for the Odyssey, Carlos Olvera gives out a pretty good definition of what white feminism is. A feminist movement that only focuses on the white, cisgender, and straight woman. Or a simple English version of that would be the feminism that forgets about the discrimination that women of color and other minorities face. It's essentially the trending feminist hashtag on Twitter or the label that every celebrity is quickly adopting. It's the feminism that's fronted as valid and correct. Now, I have a confession. I was a terrible white feminist, relying on the media for what the real meaning of feminism is, instead of doing my own research online. That's the feminism that a lot of people want to run me over for. And I don't blame them for it. You see, I only advocated for white women's rights, not even my own, which is pretty stupid of me. But ignorance really is a choice. My mistake was neglecting the hugely important presence of women of color, as well as queer women and other minorities. I even realized I couldn't even relate to what white feminism was advocating for. And in fact, I have failed to do my own part in this conversation, not placing any attention onto people who are more like me. But I'm not the only one who was under the impression that we're advocating for feminism instead of white feminism. As a Vietnamese teenager, I have struggled to find any support group that understands my problems of being the Asian girl in a patriarchal society. You don't really hear much about feminism in Asian countries, and it's because of the stigma that women are submissive, subservient girls who are essentially groomed to be the perfect housewives. I did not have the opportunity to speak out due to my gender, often being told that my problems of being an Asian privileged girl are just superficial. I was silenced by my own society. For example, when I told my parents, especially my dad, that I was a feminist, he praised me for my beliefs and actions, yet told me that gender equality is already a reality. He had told me that my efforts are truly appreciated, yet said, there's no need for feminism, since women are equal to men, since they have jobs and have education. It seemed as if he took my feminism as a phase of puberty. He didn't take it seriously. So why do people don't take feminism seriously? From its humble beginnings to the present, feminism is constantly advertised as a one-size-fits-all package, despite it being limited to the oppression that white women has faced. And at the very same time, neglecting women of color as well as other minority struggles. And, of course, I fell for it, thinking that I was in this exclusive club of women fighting for their mainly white rights. But my thinking was wrong. Feminism means equality. Feminism means equal opportunity. Feminism means liberation for all women. It's supposed to support all types of women: white women, women of color, working women, women with disabilities, mental illnesses, etc. But when mainstream white feminism only focuses on white women and their stories of oppression, it only sends out a message that people like you and I don't exist, nor do our problems matter. But I finally did something that I should have done instead of relying on the media for everything. Research about how my feminism isn't necessarily valid. And so, I had to find a solution to my predicament. What kind of feminism supports all women instead of focusing only on white women? The correct kind of feminism, and it has a name: intersectional feminism. Coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, it looks at how women of different backgrounds experience oppression. I'm included, and you are too. For a more simplified explanation by Lacey Green, it's essentially a prism which reflects the different aspects of minority oppressions and their different identities. Compared to intersectional feminism, which includes everyone, I mean everyone, mainstream feminism does little to help those who need feminism the most. And why is the feminism that we see so favorable towards white women? It's because of the media you and I live in are predominantly white, thus making it as though our problems as people of color and other minorities don't exist in their viewpoints. In addition to that, everyone's been capitalizing on feminism as if it's only a trend rather than a social movement for gender equality, commercializing it for every possible slogan. And so, the feminism that we see is simply white. There's no in-betweens. It clearly does not encourage people who do have a voice and privilege to stand up for those who don't. It shuts people out their differences instead of being inclusive. Take the wage gap, for instance. Everyone's been throwing the statement 79 cents to $1 when it comes to gender inequality, but never really considered that. 79 cents only applies to white women. In fact, African American women earn a reported 64 cents, while Hispanic women earn 54 cents compared to their white male counterparts, according to Bustle. Another example is violence against women. A common fact is that between 25% to 50% of women have to experience sexual harassment in their entire lifetime. However, we're forgetting there are layers within that fact. In the numbers for LGBTQ-based hate incidents, Everyday Feminism reports that 78% murdered are people of color, and transgender people are 27% more likely to be a victim of hate violence than cisgender people. In general, all women are prone to gender discrimination and violence, but some women have it far much worse. So, why not mainstream feminism? It just doesn't do feminism justice. Feminism is not supposed to tear people apart for differences, but rather to connect them. The real feminism helps everyone out, especially the women who do not have a voice. And sometimes, being heard is all that really takes for someone's life to change. So, now another question. Why intersectional feminism? Intersectional feminism struck out to me because it is about all women, something that I'm all for. Not to mention, it discusses the different identities that I have as a woman. The fact that I'm Asian, cisgender, able-bodied, and privileged. It is something that could be found in every woman, and that's the beauty about intersectional feminism. Everyone gets to be recognized for their differences and are united by it, not against it. Back to the beginning. I became a feminist because of a Beyoncé song. I stayed one because of intersectionality. Thank you.